recognized as Civil Rights Lawyer of the Year in Washington, D.C. for 2018, an attorney for Dr. Vanessa Tyson, as well as Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who answers a few questions, what I've been hearing about the allegations about Lieutenant Governor Fairfax and what one of his accusers, Dr. Vanessa Tyson, is asking for. Take a listen, and I'll open up the phone lines on the back end. So today I have this is one of the best interviews I think I'm going to have done because it's an issue I care so much about. I've interviewed so many men and women. As everybody knows here, my show is about and for women and a few good men. And I've interviewed so many accomplished folks. But today is not only an issue I care a great deal about, it's a very controversial issue at the moment, but I'm going to be talking to such an accomplished woman that I just hold in such high esteem. I'm really kind of excited about it. So I hope you'll bear with me. Let me introduce you to Debra Katz, who is recognized as the Civil Rights Lawyer of the Year for Washington, D.C. by the Best Lawyers in America for 2018, and is one of the toughest employment lawyers in Washington, D.C. She is an expert in sexual harassment, employment, and whistleblower law, and it goes on and on. Debra Katz is a founding partner of Katz, Marshall & Banks, where she concentrates her practice on employment discrimination, sexual harassment, wrongful discharge, Sarbanes-Oxley, corporate, environmental, and other whistleblower claims. We all may remember her from the Dr. Blasey Ford testimony in front of the United States Senate. She is classified as a super lawyer in Washington, D.C., and around in 2007, Human Resource Executive magazine named her as the nation's top 10 plaintiffs' attorneys to fear the most, I might add. She's a contributing editor for Ms. Magazine, where she writes about legal issues of importance to women, and she received her Bachelor's of Arts degree summa cum laude from Union College, where she was also a member of Phi Beta Kappa. She received her J.D. cum laude from University of Wisconsin Law School, where she served on the Law Review, and it goes on and on and on. And we're talking to her today in her car because she just delivered a keynote address. So we are so glad to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today. What we're talking about...
That was quite an introduction. I'm delighted to be on the show, but that's a lot to live up to.
No, you've done it. You've done it. You know, this issue of sexual harassment and sexual assault is never an easy subject to deal with, and you deal with it every day. And particularly in Virginia right now, we have a lot of troubles. People have referred to this in many different ways. What I say is it's very sad. And it just last week, your client, Dr. Vanessa Tyson, appeared on CBS morning show with Gayle King talking about her alleged assault. Meredith Watson appeared on the same thing, and then we had two editorials by two newspapers last week. One is the Virginia Pilot, and one was the Roanoke paper, that in essence say what happens next, and there's no easy way to resolve. So I have a few questions I want to start off with, unless Debra, you'd like to say a little intro for your part here, and then we can go on to questions.
Well, I'm happy to answer specific questions, but the situation in Virginia is absolutely mind-boggling. We have two women who've come forward with credible allegations of sexual assault by the lieutenant governor. Initially, the General Assembly said that they were going to move quickly. There was some talk of impeachment hearings. We didn't care what form it took, but we thought it was crucially important that people in Virginia got to hear sworn testimony from the women and from the lieutenant governor who wanted to participate. And what has happened is a partisan bickering, and we're at a standstill, and everybody's worse for that.
There have been a lot of questions coming around whenever I come out, because I've been advocating that I believe women. And it's a little, I believe, hypocritical when so many of us women I myself have been sexually assaulted, and I think the statistics will bear out 7 out of 10 women at some point in their lives will have been. And I think many of us understand how difficult it is to come out and tell our stories, but then to not then be allowed to tell them in a public forum is even more discouraging. And some of our Democratic women who've been elected, who were very much out there in front with you, with Dr. Blasey Ford, have remained pretty much silent. But I'd like to ask a few questions that some of these people bring up as I discuss this. And the first one was, why has no report been filed with the appropriate police, I believe in Suffolk County, by Dr. Tyson?
Well, I think that's a very big decision for somebody to decide to proceed with criminal charges. And as you know, people are often re-victimized by going through the criminal justice system. What Dr. Tyson's motivation in coming forward has been is to tell what happened to the people of Virginia who elected him, to determine whether he is suitable to continue with this role. We have been in touch with the Suffolk County DA's office, but right now the priority is to try to have an opportunity for Dr. Tyson to be able to testify in proceeding before the Virginia legislature, and that's really our priority at the moment.
Did Dr. Tyson, and this is a question I get asked a lot, did Dr. Tyson make any contemporaneous comments to any one of her contemporaries around the time when this incident occurred?
Dr. Tyson released a detailed statement where she talked about when she first started speaking about the lieutenant governor specifically. I think over the years she's had general conversations about this event, and prior boyfriends understood that there was an issue of an abuse, sexual assault that occurred that really was very life-altering for her, but in terms of identifying who committed the assault, that's been more recent in the last several years.
So did she ever name the name to any of her other friends in this process?
Well, yeah. I mean, she named his name to many friends in this process in the last several years, absolutely.
So then it comes down to, I have had many people say, it's very interesting the timing of this, when she brought this up. So because it was looking like there was a potential of Governor Northam resigning and then Lieutenant Governor Fairfax would succeed him, some people are suspicious, saying this was just brought up. So what you're saying is this has not just been brought up. It's been brought forward in the public at this time, but not with her contemporaries. Is that right?
That's accurate, yes.
Did she tell anybody in elective office or anyone that might have been able to have helped us let the situation see more daylight before the campaign ended?
I think that her efforts to raise this to public figures and to the public really happened around the time of the allegations coming forward about the governor and his blackface and racist conduct. Mm-hmm. Then it became more imminent. But as you know from what the Washington Post has written about, after he was elected lieutenant governor, and actually before he was elected lieutenant governor, Dr. Tyson told friends expressly that he had assaulted her and was in communication with the Washington Post well before these most recent events involving the governor. So she has been talking about this for quite some time.
It's interesting to note that I have heard several people say, repeat an instance that was said to them by someone who's close to the lieutenant governor, that Dr. Tyson is writing a book and she's wanted to make herself out a victim, and this is why she's saying this now. So you're basically telling me that this is something that she hasn't just said in the last year or two. She said this all along, correct?
I think that comments like that are exactly what has always been done historically, to malign and smear women.
Yep.
To brand them liars and to suggest that women have an ulterior motivation for coming forward and putting themselves in a situation where they are going to be heavily scrutinized and criticized. And people are always looking for motivation to ascribe to victims to try to discredit them. I'm not aware of any book, and like many of the other things that the lieutenant governor has said, this is simply false. The lieutenant governor, in a very public way, said that the Washington Post didn't run with the story because it found that there were serious problems with her allegations. And you had Marty Behrens in the Washington Post in a somewhat unprecedented move strongly rebuked the lieutenant governor and said that that was false. There have been many comments and statements that have been made that have been demonstrably false, and the best way to resolve these disputes is have everybody come under oath and testify. Dr. Tyson's willing to do that. I understand Meredith Watson is prepared to do that, and the legislature needs to figure out a path forward.
So many people on the side of, or more on the side of due process, let's say, where they say we really need, the lieutenant governor needs due process, and so how are we going to do that if we have a public hearing? There is no way to legally do anything beyond that. So I guess my question really is, what result does Dr. Tyson want from a public hearing?
What she wants is an opportunity to describe what occurred. She's willing to answer any questions put to her, honestly, forthrightly. We would hope the lieutenant governor does the same. And at the end of that process, the members of the legislature are going to have to decide whether removal proceedings are appropriate. Voters will understand what the allegations are. But the kind of behavior engaged in by the lieutenant governor to try to discredit these women while saying he wants an FBI investigation, knowing full well, as a former federal prosecutor, that the FBI has no jurisdiction here. The things that he's putting forward are just fig leaves. If he really would like the truth to come forward, everybody needs a chance to be heard under oath, and then individuals can make their own credibility determination.
Have any Democratic elected officials from Virginia or staff reached out to you to help forge a path of appropriate hearing with Dr. Tyson and Dr. Tyson and Meredith Watson?
Yes, I don't want to identify who those officials are, but yes, I think that there are people also in the Democratic aisle who would like to have hearings, but don't want these hearings to be partisan, and we share that goal. This is not sexual assault; is not a partisan issue.
Right.
This should be handled in a way that there is a rigorous examination where everybody is treated fairly in the process, and unfortunately, the sides have yet to come up with what those procedures are or how this would proceed. And unfortunately, this kind of impasse only benefits the lieutenant governor. It doesn't benefit the women who come forward with credible allegations.
So, do you have something in your head that you think that you would like to share to say how the General Assembly could go about this in terms of Democrats and Republicans, victims' aids, however you would like to stand, public, private? Have you had any discussions that you've suggested how to do this and move forward?
We believe that it is important that the hearings be open to the public so the public can view them. The parties should be under oath. There should be an opportunity to present other witnesses. If the lieutenant governor's position is that these are recently fabricated allegations, that Dr. Tyson has made this for Clipio, whatever he said about Meredith Watson, witnesses who have information to share should be allowed to testify. In Meredith Watson's case, we know that she told people the day after the rape that the rape occurred and named Justin Fairfax as the rapist. So the testimony of those people would be very important. You don't make something up 20 years ago to be able to pull it forward, now. So I think that a real hearing that's here to get at the truth would allow that type of testimony. I remain very curious about why so many members of the lieutenant governor's staff quit and what information they may have. And there have been lots of information, potentially just rumors that we've heard, but there are certainly individuals that we think should be subpoenaed to answer questions.
Would you want to be one to be involved in the questioning, or would you leave that up to the General Assembly?
That should be left up to the General Assembly.
Okay. I also, one of the last questions I have for you is that I have heard from many folks that said Me Too, and we believe her on supporting Dr. Blasey Ford, and they say, but Kavanaugh still got appointed. And so what can we do to make a difference? What is it that women out there in Virginia and beyond can do to help move this process forward, to show support for your clients, to show support for some sort of due process if there is such a way to do that, and to let everyone be heard? What can women do?
Well, first of all, I'm not one of these people who believes that Dr. Ford's testimony and coming forward was in vain. I believe the world changed as a result of her speaking the truth, and I believe that any time women speak the truth and describe the abuse that they suffered, it's undeniable, and we have to decide whether we as a society are going to put up with a culture that allows 15-year-old girls to be almost raped at parties, or are we going to be something other? And I do believe that Dr. Ford's testimony changed the world, and I think the world has a very different view of who now Justice Kavanaugh is. And when he starts taking whack with a scalpel at Roe v. Wade and other rights that women hold, we'll know exactly who this man is. I also believe that if there had not been the Me Too movement, Senator Grassley and Mitch McConnell undoubtedly would have tried to bury Dr. Ford's testimony and not let her speak. So I do believe the fact that there was a movement and that there were activists in the street gave us a lot of tailwind to insist that the all-male Republican Judiciary Committee give Dr. Ford an opportunity to testify under oath. And the world saw her and knew she was credible, and the world also understood that she was credible, she was telling the truth, and yet the Republicans pushed Kavanaugh through anyway. To them, it was irrelevant that this event occurred. And I think that all of that is very important for voters and the world to understand. And, in fact, voters did understand that, and I think it hurt the Republicans significantly in the midterm. So all of this is important, and what I would say to people who want to support women is make it safe for women to come forward and tell the truth, because when they do, and when we discover that we have common stories, there needs to be a reckoning, because we are not willing to live in a society where this kind of abuse is commonplace. And I do think that the world will move in a more just direction. We're in a very reactionary period, but we're not going back.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Thank you very much. How is Dr. Tyson doing?
She's doing well. I think she's doing quite well, and she's very resolute that she will come forward and testify when she's provided that opportunity.
I appreciate your time today. I know how busy your schedule is. I think it's very important for the women of Virginia to hear what you have to say, to hear what Dr. Tyson has to say, and Meredith Watson. And I think only thing that we can continue to do is not leave this hanging, have some sort of hearing for both people involved. That's the only fair way to do this. And then maybe more women will come forward and report. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.